in shape, 145,
Yeah.
in shape. You know what I mean? So this is different from a Crawford coming up to 168, but we know his walk around weight is probably 170, 180.
What does he have to do with this?
let anything. You know what I'm talking about. Let anything. No, I don't have to say it right now. Don't worry about it. I don't gotta say it up here. Let anything happen, and I'm gonna show you and him. Bet.
Weight is probably 170, 180.
The fight that I couldn't believe, that was too insane, and honestly just baffling to think would be a real fight in 2025 reminds you that combat sports are the craziest sports on the planet.
What was meant to be just another press conference turned into pure chaos when Gervonta Tank Davis completely lost his cool at Jake Paul. The tension had been building all week, but it exploded the moment questions came about Tank's choice to face Jake instead of other ranked contenders. Jake, never missing a chance to stir the pot, took it personal, bringing up Tank's past, mocking his lifestyle, and throwing insults that turned the whole event upside down. Within seconds, the energy shifted from hype to hostility. Security had to step in as both men traded verbal shots that felt way too real. The crowd didn't get promotion, they got war.
Outbox. And truly, when people run back this press conference, all the shit talk, all the fun, they're going to be like, wow, this kid really is doing something monumental in the sport. And he's actually
He said
insane
outbox.
boxer. And I'm going to show that this guy who's been doing it his whole life has been doing it wrong his whole life.
What'd you say, Tank?
He said he gonna outbox me. Whoop-de-doo. Say that.
The one thing when you have a fight of this magnitude, especially with Jake, because his appeal has been global. For you, Tank, do you think this is one of those fights where now all of a sudden you can show your boxing skills on a global scale to maybe people who weren't interested in boxing? All of a sudden they say, well, who is this guy?
Yeah, it's actually like, now that I'm looking at it now, it's just like, I don't know, probably
From the first stare down, it was clear this wasn't going to be a friendly back and forth. Jake Paul towered over Tank, a full 6'1" against 5'5", using that visual advantage like a weapon. Every time he looked down, it felt like he was trying to prove something without saying a word. Jake kept claiming size would control the fight, that reach would keep Tank away from danger. But Davis, ice cold and unshaken, reminded everyone that skill beats size and speed destroys distance. He didn't need to shout. His calmness said everything that Jake's reach might be long, but his night would be short. Debate burning across boxing circles is simple. Is this fight fair or just a circus act? Critics call it a mismatch, saying an undefeated world champion like Tank shouldn't even be sharing a ring with a social media boxer who walks around at heavyweight numbers. It's listed as an exhibition, but the emotions, the pride, and the stakes are all real. Davis isn't stepping into a show. He's stepping into a challenge to prove that skill, heart, and timing can break any illusion of size or fame. And when that bell rings, only one truth will matter: who can survive the storm longer.
Won the fight. But yeah, that was that. This time, Jake Paul is to take on Tank Davis. Tank Davis, he was recently in the news for being arrested for a domestic violence incident involving one of his kids' mother. He was alleged to have slapped her about the place. The charges were later dropped, to be fair to him. But yeah, that was when he was last in the news. I mean, what is interesting is just a couple of months ago, Tank Davis was saying openly that he'd lost his passion for boxing and that he wanted time away from the sport. There was speculation that he might even retire as he was experiencing extreme mental fatigue from boxing, depression, and there were mental health concerns over him. However, I guess the opportunity to earn a truck full of money fighting a completely worthless exhibition fight against Jake Paul was enough to make him change his mind about boxing. Funny that, isn't it? But you know what? I'm not even going to waste your time or mine critiquing this utter nonsense. Suffice to say that this so-called fight we're talking about is an exhibition, and it pits Jake Paul, who is a cruiserweight, by the way, weighs in excess of 200 pounds, and Tank Davis, who is, well, he was the WBA lightweight champion, who weighs in at about 135 pounds when he fights. So that's a disparity of some 65 pounds. In old money, that's about 4.5 stone. There's also a significant difference in height. Jake Paul is roughly, 6'1", 2. Gervonta Davis is 5'5" at best. So, you know, there's a height disparity there of some 8 inches. And once again, this is Jake Paul showing total disrespect to boxing, in my opinion. Once again, continued to pimp out the sport for his own financial ends. And worse still, the powers that be in boxing allowing him to get away with it and facilitating this utter bullshit. And meanwhile, what's even worse about this is that meanwhile, the WBA lightweight title that Tank Davis should be defending against Lamont Roach in a rematch. I mean, they fought back in.
For Jake Paul thrives on drama. And this press conference was built for viral chaos. Every second was theater, from clown masks to cheap shots about court cases. It felt less like a press event and more like a reality show that accidentally walked into a fight promotion. Jake knows controversy sells, and Tank knows silence intimidates. Together, they created the kind of friction that keeps social media on fire. Every shout, every smirk, every push turned into millions of views, but beneath the spectacle, one thing was clear: both men were ready to risk everything for validation.
Seen that Jake will kind of bounce in between doing these entertainment fights and then, trying to push toward his goal of ingraining himself in the sport of boxing, and kind of does both of them. So it's kind of a weird place to be, because he wants the respect of the boxing fans and the boxing hierarchy and hardcore boxing people, but at the same time, he'll gain some of that and then lose some of it. It's like a seesaw of his fights. Like one fight, and be like, okay, that's a real fight, or that's a real fighter. And he'll go and he'll win the fight. Julio Cesar Chavez, real fighter, maybe past his prime, whatever, but Jake goes and wins that fight pretty easily, and then gets a lot of respect, gets a lot of the boxing hardcore love. And you have these talks about him fighting Anthony Joshua, and that was going to get even more respect. More people were like, that's fucking crazy. What are you doing? Myself included. That seemed like a massive risk, but a lot of people were like, okay, fair play. Anthony Joshua, that's a real heavyweight. Jake wants to fight him. He's a psycho, but fair play. And then you announce this one, and it's like, well, that's the same thing people have been saying about Jake for years. So it's a weird spot to be in for him, for sure. But I talked about this not being the first choice, and I don't think it was, because Coppinger reports next that talks for Jake Paul to face Anthony Joshua collapsed over network issues. Now, we had all heard the talks, and they were pretty public, from Eddie Hearn, from Jake. Makisa Badarian, Jake's manager, was over in the UK on, I think, Sky Sports, talking about the fight and saying how it was a real possibility.
Darman nailed the irony perfectly. He said the same critics who trash Tank Davis are also the ones keeping his name trending. Every tweet, every insult, every he's overrated post just fuels the spotlight around him. They hate him, yet they can't look away. And that's what makes Tank unstoppable. He turns negativity into numbers. Every time they doubt him, he cashes in. Every time they dismiss him, he dominates. In trying to tear him down, they keep building his legend higher. It's poetic. His haters are his best promoters.
Happy with Tank. First off, don't watch Tank. Don't do it. You know what I'm saying? You support it, then what you doing? You can't not support and support at the same time, right? So if you're a boxing purist, then this fight with Roach is really more for you. It's going to be more up your alley, you know? If you just like all entertainment, all fights, all hypes, all everything, then you're going to want to tune in to the Tank and Paul's show there, uh, because that's all for entertainment. What is it? For entertainment purposes only, right? It's just say like somewhere in the small print of the promotion. For entertainment, don't do this at home, kids. So fine.
Disclaimer.
Yeah, disclaimer. For entertainment purposes only, you know. So it's money making purposes only,
Stephen A. Smith didn't hold back either. He slammed the wave of mismatched exhibitions, naming Paul versus Tyson as one of boxing's lowest moments. He demanded
is a professional. At some point in time, I don't give a damn if it's a light heavyweight. Better be a Bivol, a super middleweight, Canelo, Mexican Monster, David Benavidez, somebody that actually has a reputation. The time has come for Jake Paul to step into the ring with a cat who actually boxes for a living and give us that fight. I appreciate the fact of him promoting. I appreciate him having the cachet as a former YouTuber turned boxer. I like Jake Paul. I respect Jake Paul. I'm just saying, because I like him and because I respect him, I want to see him in the ring. And I don't want to hear, I know his numbers are better, but then he's going to say, I don't need Canelo. Canelo needs me. Well, wait a minute. It ain't just about pop.
Stephen A. went even further, calling Gervonta Davis one of the top 3 pound-for-pound fighters alive today. He praised his thunderous power, flawless precision, and championship mentality. But then came the tough part. He said Tank should feel ashamed for even entertaining a fight with Jake Paul. Why? Because when a world-class boxer steps into the ring with a YouTuber, it doesn't just risk reputation, it risks legacy. To him, this wasn't about fear or doubt. It was about standards. Jake might be chasing clout, but Tank carries the weight of boxing history.